Hello, my name is Andrew and welcome back to my DECA YouTube channel. Last year, I was an ICDC finalist for a principles event, so now I want to do a principles of marketing practice roleplay for you so you can see how to do a strong principles roleplay. Hopefully you can gain some insights from the performance I do for you right now. Let's cut the chat and I'm going to just get right into it. Hope you enjoy. Hello again, my name is Andrew, and who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? X. Perfect. It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for bringing this situation to my Thank you so much for bringing this problem to my attention. I heard from your email that obviously we're employees at InkSpot, and our supervisor was unfortunately using our company ink, our company printers, to be creating wedding invitations for personal use. Let me tell you right now that this is completely against company policy, and it doesn't matter if he's our advisor or not. Every single one of the employees that are employed at our business, InkSpot, has to follow company policy. And you cannot be using our capital, our resources for personal use because you're not paying for it, regardless of who you are. So today I want to talk to you about the actions that we can take together towards ensuring that justice is brought to our supervisor while also maintaining professionalism and also working towards actually remedying the situation. To understand why this is such a problem we first need to describe the nature of ethics. Ethics are the code of principles that dictate a person's actions. Think of it like your moral compass, telling you if something that you are doing is right or wrong. Ethics is extremely important in business because without ethics, people can be doing unethical things, which is not only bad for the business, but also the brand image and also how employees behave. It's important to maintain ethical behavior on the job, or else you can risk repercussions. For example, right now we are going to have a serious talk with HR to talk about how we are going to solve this problematic situation. Some examples of being ethical include being understanding of one another, being considerate for one another, being kind and treating others how you want to be treated, and also being fair and understanding all sides of the situation. Obviously, I know the supervisor probably didn't have any malicious intent towards the company, simply using it to create invitations for his son's wedding. Obviously, this is a very special occasion and we don't want to rain on his parade, but we have to understand that this is completely unethical behavior on his part because he is not paying for the materials, ink, and printers that he is using. It's against company policy, as I will show you in the company handbook, and I will also send you an email about that later on so we can take further action. So now that we've talked about the nature of ethics, let me explain why this is an ethical dilemma, explaining reasons for ethical dilemmas. So in this chart, in this graph over here that I have created, you can see ethics is one circle and your actions are another circle. Your ethics, as I've described, are the code of principles that dictate one's actions. And your actions are the actual actions, the physical liberties that you are taking in your life, in your job. When you do not have any ethical dilemmas, that means that your ethics are in line with your actions. So everything is smooth and your moral compass doesn't go crazy. But when you have an ethical dilemma, that means that your ethics do not align with your actions. For example, let's say that obviously this situation in particular is very concerning because your own personal ethics are telling you that you should not be using company materials for personal gain, which is what the supervisor is doing. These are our own personal ethics that affect us. However, to the supervisor, this may not even seem like a bad thing, even though it's against company policy, because this is actually this behavior is in line with his ethics and he's taking subsequent action. They match up. So to him, it's not a problem, perhaps. So this is obviously unacceptable behavior. And this is why us as coworkers are having an ethical dilemma right now, because we don't feel like what our supervisor is doing is right. So obviously now we have to take action, because once we realize that we have an ethical dilemma on our hands, we have to make sure that we can take action for the good of our company and for the good of our jobs and even the supervisor, so he knows what he's doing is wrong. So X, thank you again so much for bringing this up to me. I really want to help to solve this situation so we can move on and continue being productive in our job. To do this, we need to recognize and respond to this ethical dilemma. How are we going to do this? I like to use this acronym, the RETE strategy, to retain our ethics. RETE stands for recognizing the problem, evaluating possible courses of action, taking action, and evaluating the results. One plan that I have in place right now, as you sent me this email, is the RETE that I came up with. First, we recognize that this is an ethical problem. The supervisor should not be using company material for personal gain. Next, we need to evaluate possible actions. We can either do nothing and let him continue getting away with his unethical action, or we can talk to the HR department and let them settle this problem. Remember, as employees, our job is not to worry about what other people are doing. We should let people who specialize in HR handle this problem. Let them work on examining the problem, finding a resolution, and determining course of action afterwards. Next, we take action. We will go to the HR department. We will follow all the company guidelines in filing a formal complaint against our supervisor to ensure that this problem can be solved. And next, we will evaluate results. We will see how HR takes this situation. Probably not very lightly, but obviously this has to be done to protect the interests of our companies and ourselves. Once we evaluate those results, we can see where we did good. The company can see where they did good in addressing this situation and where they could improve in the future. And from this graph, I can actually show you that this will not only benefit the company, but employee satisfaction as well. When employees are ethical, we can see that when they make ethical decisions, their employee satisfaction will increase. They will be happier on the job because, like I said, when your actions align with your morals, you will become a more satisfied individual. But when you make an unethical decision, for example, our supervisor, then we can find that unethical decisions that don't align with your actions and your ethics actually lead to decreased employee satisfaction. So that's why it's so important we must bring this to the attention of HR. And finally, let's talk about how we can move on from this. How can we build trust in our relations? I like to think of the SERVE acronym when we are addressing how we can build trust in relations. The first one is to be sincere. Next is to have empathy for others. Next is to be responsive. Fourth is to provide value to your relationships. And also, E, finally, is excellence. Make sure that you're going above and beyond to sustain relations. That doesn't mean violating your own ethical code, but it means more so that you're putting effort into relationships. We can see that when there's a strong company culture of trust in an organization, this not only increases company growth and sales because people are working more effectively and efficiently together, sharing tacit knowledge, but it can also increase employee satisfaction, as I showed you in the graph before. Hopefully this has been able to help you, and I look forward to working with you to resolve this situation. It takes a very brave person to speak out against a supervisor who perhaps could have retaliatory actions against the individual. But trust me, if we go through the right channels of communication, we sort this out with HR, I'm sure this will be all solved very soon. And I really hope to continue working with you and making sure that our company succeeds and that we are personally satisfied with the service we are providing to our customers and our society. Do you have any questions for me? Yes. What if the supervisor gets upset with me? That is a great question, X. So obviously, it's completely fair that the supervisor might get upset with you simply because you're telling other people about his wrong actions. And people do not like to get exposed, especially when they're in the wrong. If the supervisor gets mad at you, you should take no personal offense to it because you're following company procedure. You are doing the ethically correct decision. And because of this, you should not worry about retaliatory action because HR will make sure that you are personally safe from retaliatory action, and also because they know you're in the right spot. They know what you're doing is best for the company. So don't worry about the supervisor being upset with you because it has nothing to do with your own personal morals, and it's good for the company. If retaliatory action is taken because the supervisor is upset with you, obviously you have protections in place with the HR department. HR can be your friend if you utilize them correctly. So don't worry if he's upset with you. He'll probably face punishment, but he will probably be sorry for his actions and for messing with the company. Do not worry about it. And do you have any other questions? Yes, my second question, if the supervisor promises to pay for the order, does that make it okay? That's a great question. And the answer is, it depends. If he goes through the proper channels of buying it as a customer, then yes, it's okay, because when you actually buy it through the proper channels of the business, through actual sales communications channels, yes, it's okay because he's a customer. But just promising to pay doesn't mean he's actually going to pay. We've already seen that he's done this without the permission of the company and violating company procedure. So a promise is not good enough. You need to remind him, even if he's your supervisor, but respectfully remind him that this is not okay and you should go through proper channels of communication. And if that's all, you have my email. I look forward to working with you to resolve this situation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Remember, do not let this affect you personally. It has nothing to do with your own actions and morals. You were just unfortunate enough to be tangled in this slight mess. But we will get it resolved, and thank you so much for your time. Okay, thank you so much for watching my DECA roleplay example video. I hope this was able to help you prepare and give you a good idea of how to do a solid roleplay for either your district competition, your state's competition, which is coming up soon, and even ICDC, because I believe in you. I know you're going to make it. If you want to continue following this journey or getting more DECA tips, feel free to subscribe. I'll pop up the subscribe somewhere, and also some videos that you can check out to help you further on your DECA roleplay. Best of luck in your next competition, and thank you once again for supporting my channel. Peace.